abogados ló sọ wípé equal volume of all gases at the same temperature and pressure have the same number of molecules. Hello everyone, welcome back to Mindful Teachers YouTube channel. If you haven't, please subscribe. Kindly subscribe, send this video to someone, a teacher, an educator, a school leader, anyone who works with children, adults, parents, everyone who is in one way or the other connected with children, and even children themselves who can learn from this video, from this YouTube channel. Today we are going to be talking about memory and remembering. Memory and remembering. How can you help learners in the 21st century to remember, to have retentive memory, to remember what's the important thing they are supposed to remember when they are actually supposed to remember it. Forgetting is necessary. Imagine remembering every single detail of the week, or let's just even say in a day. At the end of the day, you remember everything that happened, from your alarm that woke you up, from your neighbor's children that were making noise in the morning, from the color of the cars that passed beside you, from what the market women were telling the conductors and the drivers, from the every argument until you get to school, to get to your place of work, you get to where you're learning. You remember every single detail of everything. I'm sure you're going to. You can imagine how that will be mentally draining. So forgetfulness actually helps us to filter out unnecessary information and store the important information. Now, what is memory? Memory refers to the mental capacity to store, retain, recall information, experiences, and skills. It is a cognitive function. Basically, when you need it, you're able to recall it, either an experience, an information, or a skill that is necessary, like driving, like riding bicycle, like remembering the name of somebody. So you're able to say it is an essential cognitive function that enables individuals to learn from past experiences, to recognize patterns, and to make informed decisions. So when you are being given a sum to solve as a child, or when you give a learner a sum to solve, they can remember the example, they can recall it and make informed decision on what to do. So they know that this is sum, I'm supposed to add 1 with 1. It is an addition, not subtracting 1 from 1, because this sign is, so that's an example of recalling, being able to recall. There are certain factors that affect retention and remembering, and they can be categorized into 2. We have factors relating to teaching, and we have factors relating to learning. Teaching on the teacher's side, learning from the learner's side. There are certain factors that relate to how you teach that helps learners to remember based on how you teach. There are some methods that you use that will help your learners to remember what you taught them. There's a traditional teaching method that a lot of people are familiar with. You just go into the class. Today we are talking about nouns. Define a noun. Who can tell us what, in fact, we have not taught them. Who can tell us what a noun is? Who can tell us the types of noun? Yada 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 yada. If you follow that method, it's just like a routine. There's nothing special in that method that will help your learners to actually remember and store that information in their memory. You want to make the lesson interesting, that's one thing, get their attention. After that, you teach in bits, from simple, the concepts that they already know, to complex. For example, you want to teach now, all of them know that when they are writing their names, they start with capital letter. When they are writing the names of their friend, they start with capital letter. Why? You ask them, why do you do that? Why do you start with capital letter? Then somehow you all trace it back to, oh, because it is a noun. A noun is their words that you use in naming this, that. Oh, and that is why we start it this way. So you start from what they already know, what they're already familiar with, their experiences. You take it into what you're teaching. So they are already curious. So you have their. Another method is using insightful teaching method, like project-based learning, inquiry-based learning. Inquiry-based learning, you practically don't tell the topic, you just come with there is an instructional design that you are going to follow, that you want to follow. So you come with, let's say you're teaching state of matter, you come with a gas in a container, maybe a nylon or a balloon. There's air in it. You come with liquid, you come with solid. Then together as a class, you observe it. Maybe a stone might be the solid, or a paper, something concrete. You write each of them, then you start to list the differences between them. They learn to observe, to bring out the information themselves. So you're not practically giving it to them. If they are able to say, oh, this is liquid, this is solid, I think the elements in this are more packed together, closely packed together than liquid. That is why I can pour liquid from one container to another. The learners observe that, oh, this is liquid, that is why I can easily pour it from one container to another. Unlike the stone, that I have to apply some kind of force, to break the particles together. So before you even give the learners anything, they themselves have been able to identify certain differences between the solid and liquid. They are out of the gas. You just release the balloon, and before you know it, the gas is everywhere. It has spread. You can even use perfume, spray it here. Before you know it, you are perceiving it at the other side. It's mixed with the air. So if they are able to actually bring out this point themselves, I'm sure you do not have so much job to do in reminding them, because you did not actually give it to them. They came up with it. They came up with the solution. They came up with the answer. They came up with the differences from the knowledge that they already have. Another method is contextual teaching. So being able to see, being able to touch, being able to do, being able to feel things help learners to actually remember concepts. Instead of saying, oh, do you know when you spray a big gun, or when you spray a perfume, you perceive it at the other end of the, actually bring something to the class and spray it, instead of just telling with mouth. Bring something to the class, and it involves things like field trips, going out of the classroom, or bringing things into the classroom. It can be as complex as traveling on a field trip, and it can also be as simple as just leaving the four walls of the classroom to the school environment, to talk about different kinds of soil, to feel soil, to talk about plants, to talk about murals, paintings on the walls, to show, to make sure that learners see, are able to touch, and can feel what we are talking about. These things help learners in retaining, understanding, and remembering information when necessary. We also have teaching in clusters. That means you don't teach everything at once, just like teaching in bits, teaching in clusters. So we're doing arithmetic. We started with addition. We're not just going to do addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. No. So we can do addition, then when addition has been gotten, we go to subtraction. So teaching in clusters. We also have using mnemonics. Mnemonics are acronyms, songs that helps learners to remember. I'm very sure every single one of us use this at one point or the other in school, when we're in school, learning, even as adults, a lot of people during masters, they are learning, maybe 10 things you need to learn. They make up an acronym, AGMUWR3. So they know that those are the 10 things. One starts with A, the other starts with G. So those are mnemonics. We have things like Mr. Niger D, my very eyes may just see upon 9 planets. That's the planet Mr. Niger. So Mr. Niger D are the characteristics of living things. Now we have a lot of them. I remember music. Definition of music was learned through music. Music is an arrangement of sounds that are pleasant to the ear. I can't forget what is music. Music, I will keep repeating it. Back then, when we're learning a lot of laws in physics, they had to convert some laws to songs to help us remember. And the ones that seemed simple that we didn't convert to songs are the ones I can no longer remember now. I can still remember the ones that were converted to song. Avogadro's law, it was converted to a Yoruba song. Avogadro's law, those law wípé equal volume of all gases at the same temperature and pressure have the same number of molecules. So things like that help learners to actually remember, to recall certain kind of information that we feel might be a little bit too technical for them to remember, and we want them to remember either in the exact order, the exact word. We don't want them to use their own words for it, so others can remember. Like a law is a law. You can't change the wordings of a law. I always tell my learners, you don't have to give me what I give you, use your own words. But a law, somebody made the law and it has to be repeated that way. Then we have overlearning. You learn something today, you learn the same thing tomorrow, you ask them the same thing continuously, and they'll be like, oh auntie, tell me again. So they keep learning it, and the ones that don't know it, they don't know it first time, second time, third time. By the 5th time, they'll be like, no, I must know this thing. So they learn it. So overlearning is also a way of helping learners to retain information, to pay more attention to that fact, what you keep emphasizing on. Now, those are the methods that we use in teaching that helps learners to remember, retain, and use information when needed. Factors that relate to how students learn, how learners study. Now, there are certain ways learners study that help them to actually remember. The first one is early review of work. So you're being taught something today, and later in the evening you have to go back to it, go through it, because after an hour of learning, 40% of what has been learned will be forgotten. That's for everyone, or let's say for every normal human. 40% will be forgotten. So you are left with just 60% of what you just learned, of the new information you have just heard. And after another hour, another 20% is lost. You are left with 40%. Then after about 7 days, you are left with just 20%. So imagine learning something once and not having to go over it, or having an activity that involves using the act that you have just learned to actually do something. It's like you've learned a language. You're learning maybe French or whatever on Duolingo, and you don't have the chance to practice what you have learned in the beginner's level. Before you know it, you actually forget it. If you don't speak the French, if you don't speak the language and use it productively, so you forget it. So this is where teachers also come in. This is for the part of the learners now, where what learners can do to actually help them to remember things. Teachers are supposed to give instructions, activities, assignments to learners concerning that thing, so they have to go over it within the first 2 days. 1 day, if it's a weekend, maybe 2 days. Early review of the work done in the classroom, enhanced by teacher through activities such as assignments, take-home activities, other similar activities. You don't teach letter writing without writing letters. So those are the things that help us when we make use of the information that we have gotten repeatedly in a meaningful and challenging way. Then we have overlearning. I talked about overlearning earlier, where you ask your students to do something. So you give them assignments. You learned letter writing. You taught letter writing rather, and then you give an assignment on writing letters. One assignment, one activity. Why? You keep giving. I remember when I was in secondary school, one of the things that helped me in my English language was the English teacher we had in SS3, Mrs. Ekan. So, Jesus, this woman bombarded us with assignments, English assignments, essay writing, letter writing. Every class she came to, she gave us assignments. There was just always something. Even when we didn't do, maybe we did like register of, those register of kitchen, register of baking, register of whatever. When we didn't do anything that had related to essay writing or something, she would just come up with a joke or something and ask us to write about our experience so far, preparing for this, preparing for that, and she always marks it and corrects it. So it now became more like a challenge. That helped me a lot, developed my writing abilities. My English work, it was beautiful. I was not of 300 words, 350 words, because those were also the criteria for all the assignments she gave to us. It has to be 350 words. First of all, if it's not up to 350 words, she's not marking it. So I was used to it because of over-learning. I practically over-learned essay writing, being creative, paragraphing, letter writing, salutation, everything, formal letter, informal letter. I over-learned it, and it's paid off in the end. We also have spaced repetition. So you learn, let's say you teach addition, then after that you teach subtraction, then you go back to teaching a more complex kind of addition, then you teach a more complex kind of subtraction, then you probably mix word problem of addition, subtraction, sum of, difference of together. So we are still teaching just two things within a space of maybe 4 weeks. That is a spaced repetition of the same concept. It helps in retaining information. It's like you're building on a foundational knowledge that you had shared previously. We also have hands-on activities that helps learners to remember things that they've learned, like group discussions among learners, preparing for a debate in the classroom, debates among learners, quizzes and competitions among learners. How do you know if there has been good retention as a teacher now? The first thing is that your learners remember certain details. You quiz them, check if they remember certain details, if they can recognize certain things, differentiate, they can recognize, remember, they can reproduce, not exactly the way you gave them, but they can apply the knowledge you gave to reproduce something similar to what. So like letter writing, you told them how to write letter. Maybe you gave an example of writing a letter to your parents, and you ask them to write letter exactly not to their parents. You can ask them to write letters to your teacher, to their friend, to the government, to the principal of the school, to anyone. So they are able to reproduce, and also performance. They are able to do certain things in certain ways. You cannot teach practicals, lab precautions, and your learners are handling the lab equipment anyhow. They haven't learned, or they can't recall what you have taught them. In as much as we want our learners to remember, forgetting is also necessary. It is necessary that they forget certain details so that they can pay attention to the important details. So they forget certain things so that they can pay attention to important ones. Also, forgetting helps learners to retrieve and reconstruct bits of information. So they can't remember everything, but they remember part A, they remember part C. So they think critically and are able to actually reconstruct both parts together and then identify the part B. So it also helps learners to deepen their understanding of a particular topic. When you forget certain things, it's like you are being asked difference between states of matter, solid, liquid and gas, but you have forgotten the way it was stated. So you have to think yourself, okay, this is solid, this is liquid, what's the difference between them? It helps our learners to have a better understanding of some topics. Forgetting also enhances our learners' ability to solve problems and think creatively, coming up with new and innovative ways to solve problems. So they think creatively, come up with new ways that you did not even teach them. Remember, memory is a cognitive function. It is enhanced by the way we teach and the way learners learn. Both ways, teachers have 50, 70, 80% action to take in helping learners remember. The way you teach, the way they learn. The way they learn is also enhanced by you. The kind of activity, take-home activities that you give to learners. Thank you for watching. See you soon. Next time, we're going to talk about a topic I find rather interesting: statutory records and teaching. Which should be our priorities as teachers? I want your contributions. Before I actually make this video, I want you to tell me which you feel is more important. Statutory records like attendance and learners' attendance, mark books, lesson notes, and all those records we keep at work, and the actual teaching. Which should be our priority? Which should be your focus? Eventually, you're going to do both, but which is more important?